So I first learned the bare bone basics of prostitution when I was 7 years old. Now there was no sex involved, but there was definitely an exchange of money and certainly dignity. I grew up in Berea, Ohio, which is 15 minutes right outside of Cleveland, just far enough to make it all white. And I was not white. Still not white, I'm Hispanic. But as a young child, I was even darker than I am now. Very, very tan, very brown, jet black hair. I essentially looked like a miniature Aziz Ansari, mustache and all. My mother didn't help matters in this department because she didn't know how to do anything with hair, so she kept it very short and completely androgynous looking. So in 1989, I was really killing it in the first grade. But even though I was in the first grade and experienced a lot of teasing, I still enjoyed going to school because being that I was in the first grade, that meant that I shared the lunch period with the fifth graders, which meant that I also shared the lunch period with Brad Perkins, a tall fifth grader who had broad shoulders and that exquisite, salty, sweet combination of brown hair and blue eyes. But being the small, lowly, androgynous-looking Hispanic child that I was, how would I ever get Brad Perkins to notice me? Well, one day I decided in a completely psychosis-induced bout of adrenaline that I was going to approach him and I was going to give him the only thing that I had in this world, which was my lunch money. I, one day, just wordlessly walked up to him while he was standing in the lunch line with $1.25 in my hand, and I just presented it to him. I said nothing. I didn't say my name. I didn't say hello. I just did this. Now, he had 6 friends around him who all lost it. They were just beside themselves because they could not believe that this small, little, tiny, first grade nothing in a New Kids on the Block t-shirt and jelly sandals was just handing over her lunch money. But Brad didn't laugh. Sweet as he was, sweet, sweet Brad, he just smiled and looked at me and said, "Thanks," and he took it. And I turned on my heel and I walked with my chin in the air because I had done it. I had made contact. I had gotten him to notice me. I went and sat back down with my friends who were busy eating their government-regulated trays of garbage while I ate nothing. But it didn't matter because he had noticed me. Then the next day, I did the exact same thing. I walked up to him, handed him my lunch money, he smiled, said thanks, and took it. Now this went on for 2 weeks. 2 full solid weeks, I did not eat lunch at school. Towards the end of the second week though, I could tell I was starting to lose him a little bit. Our brief interactions, the 3.2 seconds that we had together, they were getting shorter and shorter. So I knew I had to step it up. So that day, I decided I was going to really make an impression on him, and I went home and I cleared the house out of every single bit of spare change and money that I could find. I went through the couch cushions, I went through my sister's piggy bank, I went through the car, I dumped out my mother's purse, and I filled one of those freezer-sized Ziploc bags with all kinds of money. So the next day, shoulders sagging under the weight of probably $67 and all kinds of spare change, I just handed it to him. And again, no words, we never spoke. But whereas before, all of his friends would lose it and laugh at me, it was like the needle on the record had scratched. It got real quiet because they realized, okay, she just got really intense. And Brad didn't even say thanks this time, he just kind of picked it up and looked at it. But I thought I had stunned them speechless, and I turned on my heel, again with my chin in the air, walking away thinking everything was fine. Well, then I got home, and my mother was also home from work, and she wanted to know who had robbed her, and she also wanted to find out why I was coming home completely starving every day. And so I told her, well, I have a boyfriend. His name is Brad. I don't really want to talk about it because he's older. And I was giving him my lunch money, and what was the big deal? And she just closed her eyes and shook her head, and she said, "Laura, that's not how you get guys to like you." And I'm thinking, you're going through a divorce. Like, why would I take relationship advice from you? I was a little concerned. I was a little worried that the next day that there would be that dreaded brown bagged lunch, the one that sits in the refrigerator all night and then just has a disgusting ham sandwich in it that tastes like garbage. But I woke up the next morning and there wasn't. There was the $1.25 sitting there. So then I thought, okay, see, you understand what I'm trying to do here. I'm glad that you're working with me so we can, keep this train going forward. But when Brad saw me start to approach him the next day in the cafeteria to give him the $1.25, he ran. He ran from the cafeteria because my mom had called the school and let them know what was going on. And Brad got 2 weeks of detention, 1 day for every day that he had accepted my gleefully given lunch money. So even though that I should be grateful that I met the crushing realization of betrayal at a young age, knowing that you really can be betrayed by anyone, friend or family member, that should comfort me in a small way. No one ever expects to get blocked by their own mother at 7 years old.